Let's build a world inspired by Lilith. After we explored her mythology and her archetype in last week's Goddess Guidance video, I was overcome with creative inspiration. I wanted to build her a world. I wanted to build a world devoted to telling her story, but not the one that we've heard 1,000 times. I'm not interested in the moments leading up to her leaving the garden. I'm interested in the moments after, the first steps she takes into her self-reclamation. No rules, no permission, just herself. Her world asks this question: who do we become when no one gets to tell us what to do anymore? At its heart, this world is about sovereignty. It isn't revenge. It's not darkness for darkness's sake. It's the terrifying beauty of choosing yourself, the grief that comes with freedom. Because every act of liberation asks us first to mourn the life we leave behind, as much as it is asking us to embrace who we are becoming. The silence, the exhilaration, the terror of complete freedom. Freedom can be terrifying when you're faced with its vastness. The slow realization that she doesn't need another garden. She's becoming one. Eden was cultivated. It was perfect. It was symmetrical. This world that she creates in her sovereignty is wild, untamed. It doesn't ask permission to grow. Her story in this world begins as she is leaving. Uncertainty, grief, stillness. She's barefoot. Openness surrounds her. She's bordering powerful cliffs. Below her, massive waves crash on a rocky shore. The ocean, a testament to the intimidating vastness of possibility. The wind whips through her wild, natural hair. She is tiny against the cliffs, but not because she is weak, because she is standing inside something much larger than herself as she has known herself to be. She doesn't know yet who she'll become. And then her walk changes. One foot, and then another foot. Her shoulders relax. We move in closer, witnessing on her face the moment that she chooses to run, not away, but towards something inexplicable calling her. The storm above her following her lead, a clap of thunder releasing what the clouds have been holding back, almost like they are exhaling at the same time she does. She sprints until she stumbles upon the ruins of a castle, not abandoned, just asleep. Every step she takes closer awakens it. The vines begin growing, blossoming instantly with overripe fruit. Candles begin igniting her path further down, roots crawling across the decrepit stone, poisonous flowers blooming between the cracks, dust lifting from forgotten corners and furniture. Moonlight pours through broken ceiling. Snakes slither out from hidden places, not as villains, but as witnesses, ancient keepers, the first to recognize her. They bow almost as if to say, "We've been waiting for you." From the corner, a glimpse of the obsidian coat of a panther, teasing her with its golden eyes, a tail disappearing, a silhouette never quite seen, a breath, and then gone. We see her wash away Eden in moonlit bathwater, not because Eden was evil, but because she is releasing an identity that no longer belongs to her. As she emerges, she adorns herself in a gown that mirrors her powerful sensuality. She paints herself with makeup that enhances her natural intensity. She is not becoming someone else. She is revealing who was always there. And then she sets a feast for herself. The feast is not simply indulgence, it is permission. In Eden, everything was curated. Everything belonged to someone else, a deity outside of herself. Here, she prepares her own food. No one grants it. No one forbids it. The act of nourishing herself sacred to its very core. I imagine her placing each pomegranate, goblet, candle with intention, consecrating this space that she has discovered for herself. Afterwards, she rests on a bed of crimson velvet, the panther resting beside her, the snakes moving freely about the room. Candles flicker. Fruit overflows. The storm calms ahead. Outside, the moon is teasing its fullest expression. She is a queen, but not because someone crowned her, because she chose herself. Her story, her world feels so enticing, so real. I could not help but dive into how I, as a creative director, would go about actually turning this vision, this story, into a visual reality. Picture this: the Dunluchy Castle. I am positive that I am pronouncing that wrong. In Northern Ireland, a wide opening shot, a model or an actress portraying our Lilith, not so much literally, as she is the embodiment of how every feminine being discovers the Lilith within. She stands in the massive fields that surround the castle, the ruins of the castle still way out of her view. And then we flash to another scene, her shape as a silhouette in a crimson basked room, minimal, abstract, almost theatrical. She screams, but not in pain, in release. And then a flash, back to the cliffs where she takes her first liberated steps, the camera now tighter in on her person, capturing the moment that she makes the decision to run. And then a flash, back to the crimson room of her internal process, hands stretched up, breathing, writhing in motion. And then a flash, back to her running. The storm mirrors her building intensity, soaking her pale golden slip dress and wild untamed curls, her bare feet pounding as she sprints towards the barely visible ruins, peeking through the fog. And then a flash, back to that crimson room, her shadowed silhouette nose to nose of that of a panther. And then a flash, back as she's approaching the very first walls of the ruins, a knowing smile peeking through her lips, captured in a movement that comes behind her and wraps around to witness her recognition of a space that she's never been but is feeling as though she belongs. And then we flash back to that inner crimson existence, where we see an up-close profile, a thin lacy veil covering her head's silhouette. She takes a deep breath in and breathes out a gust of fire. And then, as she enters the ruins of the castle, shots of every corner of that castle coming alive with each step that she is taking. We see the details of the vines growing, the fruit and the flowers blossoming around her, creeping up the walls and the floors. We see the glisten of the snake's obsidian and molten gold skin. We see a shot of the panther teasing its presence, but not yet making itself fully known. And then one more flash, back to the crimson room, her full silhouette draped in that very same lacy veil. A single candle illuminates, a snake across her shoulders like a scarf. As she continues exploring her discovered sanctuary, the camera movement is almost voyeuristic, slow and observational. I want the camera movement to feel like it is witnessing something very sacred, honoring her. Her moonlit spiritual bath continues with this intimate connection. Slow, detailed movements as she immerses herself in the magical waters. Shots of her body and ritual are far from sexual, more so deeply sensual in its true definition. The reclamation of pleasure in simply just caring for oneself. As she dresses herself, close, intimate angles, slow pan movement, capturing the intention behind the crimson velvet dress and the molten gold accessories. As she applies her makeup, we watch her through a vintage antique mirror, slightly cracked, but still deeply beautiful, just like the rest of the ruins. Now the feast I want to feel deeply ritualistic. Nothing but candlelight casting its enchanting glow on the table being set. Close-in shots of her hands, placing each and every element with intention. She places pomegranates, representing that chosen knowledge, abundance, and the birth and death cycle of transformation. Red wine for celebration and pleasure without shame. Honey drizzled figs for devotion, sweetness, and inner richness. Black grapes, cherries, blood oranges for harvest, desire, rebirth. Dark bread drenched in olive oil and rosemary for nourishment, peace, and protection. I want it to feel like she is setting an altar to herself and her choice and freedom as much as it is a meal for nourishment. The snakes slither around, red and gold candles, antique jewelry, a letter she wrote to herself slowly burning. After each item is placed, we watch her, again with these mid-range voyeuristic angles, witnessing her bask in and enjoy her own creation and luxury. The closing shots are of her resting regally on a chaise. Is that how you say that word? Her velvet dress cascading around her, almost like it is becoming one with her throne. You don't know where one starts and the other ends. The panther laying beside her, curled up, nestled. The first time we see it in its full view, in its full potency and power. A symbol of her fully merging and embracing her wild and untamed femininity. Imagine the final hero shot, pushed in on her and the panther. They both turn and fix their intense gaze directly in the lens. The first real interaction with being watched. An indication that we only got to witness her transformation because she gave us permission to do so. Ugh, so fucking powerful. When I build these worlds, they feel so real. I want them to live outside of these videos, outside of a mood board. I would love to witness the birth out of my imagination and into a fragrance film for a scent that embodies this warmth, power, and communicating that self-sovereignty. Or a fashion and beauty campaign where every look marks a step in her transformation. Or a music video, for a song devoted to the journey of liberation and self-reclamation. Are you kidding? That is one of my favorite parts of world building. Once the world is strong enough, it can support infinite different stories and expressions of its energy. But for now, this world exists between me and you, and that is fine with me, as long as the idea has a space to live and breathe. Would you want to witness Lilith's world?